Hello.
Oh, I'm so stoked. Mona, you are amazing.
StreamYard. How are you, George?
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous. I was a little stressed out there for a minute, but I feel much better now.
Right?
Thank you.
And you discovered a new platform. You can connect all your stuff on here, and the world can get to know the greatness of George Monty.
That is so kind of you to say that. Thank you.
You're
It's
welcome.
interesting because I was looking at similar platforms to try and understand how to connect everything.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to know someone that had gone through this, that you can kind of piggyback their experience and have them teach you.
I'm all about that piggyback. This back is strong. Let's do it.
It is strong. Mona, I've been watching some of your videos, and can I tell you something?
Yes.
I think you have one of the most amazing stories ever.
And I do. Oh, George, that's so sweet. You're so kind.
Well, it's the truth. I mean, so for a lot of people in my audience that may not know you, maybe you can share a little bit with them how you got from Pakistan to becoming a successful stand-up comedian in LA.
On a boat. No, the boat ride would have taken way too long. Also, I get seasick, so there's also that. How did I, so my family story is, you hear a lot of like immigrant stories, and I don't know how many immigrant stories you've heard, but there's usually are very similar in the sense, I came here with $5 in my pocket, that kind of bit. Our family story is not so much about $5 in my pocket story. Our story is that I have 4 older brothers. I'm the youngest and the only girl out of 5 kids. Because my parents didn't have a radio or a television set. So we ended up being like 5. And I was like, you guys didn't have any other form of entertainment? Like, what is this? You just kept making people. Stop it. Just stop it. But the thing is that like in the 70s, my second and my third brother were given expired vaccination for polio, and they ended up getting polio because of it. So my second and my third brother got polio. Of course, there was no treatment for them in Pakistan at the time or really around the surrounding areas. So my mom would write letters to hospitals around the world, pretty much saying, hey, I have 2 sick kids. They need help. Like, I need to get them treatment. And then finally, after much trying and after much persistence and just kind of, writing letters out, Shriners Hospital in Lexington, Kentucky responded to our family, and they were very kind. And they said, if you guys just fly yourselves out here, we'll pay for everything. And that's how we started coming to America. But I didn't move until I was like 15. So my brothers I was like 6 months old when my mom left me behind, which at the time I thought was horrible. I was like, oh my God, how could you leave a baby behind? And now I look back on it, I'm like, that was a good move. That was a really solid move. And I'm glad you did that. Mainly because also I think because of my early adult years, my mom wasn't around. My mom is, as an individual, is very, very strong, solid person. But the moment you kind of overlap her with the mom part, it just gets fuzzy. It gets fuzzy, George. It gets fuzzy real fast. So you're just like, you should have just stayed in that other part. Maybe the mom thing's not for you. My mom was like just very strict, very, like a Gestapo would be, kind of like the little Gestapo feeling going on there. So I guess, as a kid, that doesn't really leave much room for you to grow. But because my mom traveled to the U.S. so much to get my brothers treated, to get their treatments and stuff, I had a lot of free time on my hands, and that's where all the funny thoughts started coming in. That's where the funny started getting all funny up here. So that was just like, it ended up kind of becoming my escape to like write stories and create like funny, weird things. And yeah, I think for me, so like I moved out. My parents sent me here to live with my 4 older brothers because my parents never really lived here. They would just come visit. So they sent us here to get educated and stuff. So my 4 brothers came here, and then it was like, oh, do we send the girl or not? And my mom was like, no, the girl totally goes. If the boys goes, then the girl goes, which is totally kudos to my mom. Kudos to my mom. So I got here, and I grew up in Jersey City, which I did not know was located in America. Uh, because the moment I got here, and I was like, this can't be America. There is no way in hell this is what America looks like, because that's not what I saw on the movie Home Alone, because otherwise. I watched Home Alone and it was very fancy in Home Alone. Little did I know, like suburbia is very different than Jersey City. Have you been to Jersey, George?
No, but
Good.
I
Keep
have
it
like
that
some
way.
family and friends from there,
Okay, just keep
but
it
I've never
that
been.
way. They invite you, don't go. Don't go.
Okay.
Just
All
invite
right.
people to Hawaii. Just don't go. Or just meet them in New York City. Like, but
Right.
now don't even go to New York City because it's like Rona land. It's like ridiculous.
I've
So
heard it's bad.
it's really bad. It's really bad. But yeah, that's kind of how I ended up. And by the time I was 18, I had already kind of packed my bags and headed out. Little fun fact about my family: grew up, I guess, just grew up in a very kind of like a physically violent household. Like my
Mm,
parents would fight a lot. And in the process, I would also get a lot of, you know, so you
right.
grow up with like taking a lot of shots. And then as an adult, I ended up falling in love with boxing. And I was like, I get it. I get why I like boxing, because two people get to beat the crap out of each other. Unlike my childhood, where only one person gets to get the shit kicked out of them. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. But I think for me, it's, it was, yeah. So I think, even as a, when I moved out here, I lived with my four older brothers, and even that was a very violent household too. My brothers were also very physically violent towards me. So I was just like, I gotta get out of here before like shit goes crazy. So when I turned 18, I got into a fight with them one night. I just packed my bags and I left and I never looked back. So I've just been on my own ever since. So that was like 5 years ago.
What do you think are the chances? Do you know any other women from Pakistan that made it to LA and do what you do?
In my journey, like the way I did, none.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody at this
Do you
point.
know any other women from any other country that have done what you've done?
Mm, not that I know of. No.
Do you Are you beginning to see how amazing you are to have the strength to do what you did?
George, you're very kind. Look, there might be stories out there that I just haven't heard. It doesn't mean like, I'm so like, woo. But no, my story is very unique in the sense that, like, I don't know anybody like myself, especially from my background. I don't know anybody, because most of the people I know of my background, they came with their families and
Sure.
they live in their homes. Like, they went to school and their parents supported them or whatever, or didn't
Yeah.
support them, but they didn't grow up with this level of tumultuous and chaos like I did.
It seems to me that sometimes the people we think that are the most unfortunate have the most opportunity. And like when I hear the story that you just told me,
Yeah.
like I have this weird philosophy that like the world makes you go through tragic events because it loves you. And it's like, you know what? I think that this person can handle this tragic event and come out of it better and teach people. I think that that's the way the world works. And unfortunately, it breaks a lot of people. But the
Yeah.
world puts you specifically through something because it believes in you. And it's like, this girl can do it. And when she gets through it, she's going to be she's going to start off like this block of concrete, or this block of marble, and I'm going to take this hammer and this chisel and I am going to whack it as hard as I can. But when I'm done, you're
Yeah.
going to have the most beautiful work of art you've ever seen. And then people are going to look at that work of art and want to be like that and hear the story of that. And when I hear stories of yours, like, and I see strong women and I try to apply it to my life, like, I think that's the purpose of tragedy. And I think that's the purpose of going through life and facing adversity and coming out the other side and telling your story, is so that you influence people and you tell people. And the truth is, Mona, I believe the people you're going to help, you may never know them, but your
Yeah.
story can be a story that, there could be a girl right now in Pakistan that's like, there's this girl Mona that went to LA and became a comedian. And as far, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Muslim faith, it's probably not very looked high upon to become an artist, right? Especially for
Yeah,
a woman.
not at all. I mean, my brother, I remember very specifically telling me, he's like, "You mean you want to be a whore?" When I told him,
What?
yeah, he's like, "You mean you want to be a whore?" And I was like, "Whores get paid a lot more than comedians do." I promise you. Maybe I should switch professions because are you kidding me right now? We get paid in drink tickets. Do you
Right.
understand? Like whores walk out with $200 and up. Like, do you understand how much more value whores have than comedians? Like, we're on the bottom rung of things. Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, I remember my brother very specifically telling me that, and I was just like, I guess we'll find out. So but yeah, that's the. Sadly, that is the mentality. But let me tell you something. And I am a very kind of outspoken person about this.
Yeah.
I mean, there is tremendous. There's tremendous. I think there is hypocrisy in every culture and every faith.
Hmm.
And I don't know. Sorry, and pardon me if you're religious or
I'm,
I
I'm almost unoffendable.
All right. I mean, I am not. I don't consider myself a religious person. I do consider myself a culturally Muslim person. I do
Okay.
consider myself a very spiritual person, mainly
Nice.
because of the level of adversity that I have been through. I don't think I would have been able to survive had I not had that kind of connection with God the way I do, and that
Sure.
really has nothing to do with organized faith. It has to do with my connection, my just personal line to God,
Yeah.
and just kind of having faith and having see things come through when times were really really hard, like times were really really difficult. I mean, you have to understand, like imagine a young girl comes from another country at 15, she has to leave home by 18. There is no money, there's no job prospects, there is like literally nothing, there's like nothing lined up. It's just like I'm looking at like a blank space and I'm just saying, look, I would rather sleep on the sidewalk than go back to a home where I'm consistently beaten and disrespected, right? I would rather sleep on the sidewalk, right? And for me, honestly, I look back on it, I'm like, I was a little nuts back then. Like, holy moly. Like, I won't do that shit today. If somebody's listening, I'm like, you know what? Let's work it out. How many punches are we talking? Like 2 punches a day? Let's work out 2 punches. I mean, I was just like, no. I think when you're young, you kind of have that vigor and that kind of energy, but as you age, my knees are like, I'm like, look, I can't, I can't do this. Yeah, I can't do this. I need to stay here and lie on the couch for a little bit. The couch is very comfortable. I can't get up. This is too much. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, I have a lot of, it's interesting when I do shows and people walk up to me and talk to me and they're like, oh my God, your story inspired me so much. Or you gave me these breakthroughs, or you helped me, overcome my fear. I mean,
That's awesome.
those things are like the most, to me, like it's nice to get being featured in Forbes magazine. It's nice
Yeah.
to be on all these like LA Times, LA Weekly, all these places. But I think for me the ultimate reward is having gone through the kind of experiences that I have, is somebody walking up to me and being like, you know what, I'm not afraid anymore because of X, because I saw you do it, and I'm no longer afraid of that, and I'm like,
Right.
oh, that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's powerful.
It
That's the kind
is.
of stuff that really kind of motivates me.
Yeah. So as I've had some similar issues. I've had issues of tragedy, not unlike your issues of tragedy. Like when I was molested when I was younger, and
Mm,
then it's amazing to see how that, first off, it it ruins a family unit, you
yeah.
know, and it causes a lot of problems in between the family, and it takes, whenever there's a tragedy at a young age, I think it takes that young person a very difficult amount of time to integrate that particular situation into their life and make sense of it and
Mhm.
understand. But it's also that tragedy that forces the rose-colored glasses off your face, and it forces you to see reality the way it is instead of the way you want it to be. And as
Yeah.
difficult as that is at a young age, it's incredibly empowering as you get older, because you have been given, in a weird way, you've been given this gift of foresight. And you
Yeah.
can see, I bet you, Mona, I bet you can see young girls that are probably going through what you went through. Like, you can see in them how you felt when you were young, and you have this ability to, oh, this person's going through something. Oh, this person is in a bad situation. And because you went through it, now you can see that in other people.
Yeah.
I met this girl one time at the park where my kid plays sometimes, and I was starting to talk to her, and we they would go down on Saturdays, and they became friends with our family, and I remember her on the phone, and she was like kind of mad and yelling and stuff. I'm like, oh, and she got off the phone. I'm like, are you okay? She's like, you know what? I don't talk to my family anymore. Like, I haven't talked to them in 10 years, and this person's trying to get a hold of me, and they're just disgusting. And
Mm,
like, all of a sudden something triggered in my mind, and I started looking at her, and then like I noticed the relationship she had with her husband was like really conservative, and then I started listening to the way she was talking to her kid, like, hey, don't talk to them. And I could see in her something that had happened to me,
mm,
and I was like, it just kind of all fit together a little bit, and I could see the pain in her. And I told her one time, I says, when it comes to your family, like, it seems like something may have happened to you that you're holding on to, and she kind of looked at me like crazy. And I'm like, but the
mm.
funny thing is, what happened to you, people go to college and they take all these classes in psychology to learn how to deal with people.
Yeah.
But what happened to you, you got to learn it for free. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that came out the way I wanted it to, but I guess I'm trying to say that you can see in other people the tragedy that happened to you, and you have the ability to help them.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm so sorry that you experienced that, and that is so absolutely devastating. I didn't experience molestation, but I did have an uncle who came over to molest me, and I
Mm.
remember that very specifically because I was about 12 years old, 12 or 13 years old, no more than that. But I didn't know back then
Yeah.
that I was very slick. I was like, "Oh, you came to the wrong girl, Uncle.
Right.
You don't even understand this.
Yeah.
That's just not gonna work for you." Uh,
Right.
yeah, he came over, and I think I really, it's just like when you don't grow up in an environment where you don't really get to see your worth because people around you, your own family, does not let you see your own worth. Can I, can I, can I, can I, can I, can I curse on this show?
Absolutely. Whatever you want.
Um,
Absolutely.
I always believe, and this is something that I always talk about, is you have to unfuck yourself, right?
Mm.
Your job as an adult to
Yeah.
unfuck yourself. Yes, shit happened to you. Yes, tragedy occurred, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, are you going to continuously live your life as if you are still in that place? Or are you going to live your life as the person that you are today?
Yeah.
So, and how do you do that to yourself? You have to unfuck yourself. You have to go to therapy. I mean, look, I've been in therapy
Right.
for 13 years. I am a huge advocate of therapy.
Yeah.
Huge advocate. Mental health is one of the most underrated things in the world. In the world. Like, people dismiss mental health like it's nothing. It's like, no, mental health is everything. I mean, everything we do on a daily basis, our existence, how we react to people, how we interact with family members, the way that people have children, and the kind of shit that pass on to their kids. But the fact that they don't even understand their own psychology and they're just passing this trash onto their kids,
Right.
like,
Right.
take the time to go to therapy. Take the time to work on yourself. Take
Right.
the time to fix that part of yourself. And you may call it, mental therapy. To me, like, I have been able to channel my spirituality through mental health. Like, the fact
Right.
that I was going to therapy, that has single-handedly, not ended up making me a freaking basket case. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
like I'm not like in a friggin' straitjacket. Okay, I'm just
Right.
like,
Right.
get out of the very straight jacket that people put you in, right?
Right.
You have to get back to that true person of who you were before people started fucking with you, right? You
Right.
have to, like, You have to get back to you, and that's your job. That's your responsibility to get back to that.
Right.
In order to live the life that you want to. And I'm a huge advocate of it. I think I listen. I'm not perfect. I definitely have moments I slip back. I have moments where I'm depressed, where I can't get out of bed for 2 days, and I have to literally have a conversation with myself. There
Yeah.
are these two sides of me. There is the depressed kid in me, and then there is the adult that constantly like pulls that kid out of that depression. I
Yeah.
understand those two things about myself, but I think a lot of people on a daily basis suffer and don't even know that these conversations are happening in their head because there's no awareness, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're in your head, it's all very subjective. But you need a person who's sitting on the outside, who's looking at things objectively, to point things out to you and be like, look, these are your patterns. Like, this is how you do things, and it's
Right.
not working for you. So let me give you some tools that will help you.
Yep.
Let me show you some pathways that will be a lot more productive for you, rather than, shooting up drugs and, or drinking yourself silly, because
Yeah.
that's the only way you self-medicate yourself. I think there are, other healthier ways to do that. You can meditate, you can go for a walk, you can go hiking, you can go swimming, you can go bike riding, you can go many other ways to channel that energy, rather than, I don't know, eat a bunch of Twinkies to feel good about yourself, which is usually what I do in the pandemic. But that's besides the point.
It's interesting too because that feeling, I think sometimes people that are in destructive patterns, like when you get into that emotion of rage, like you can fuel yourself with rage, and like
Yeah.
if you get into like that feeling of hate, like you can fuel yourself. It's very toxic, but you can use it as energy, and I think a lot of people
Yeah.
get stuck in
Yeah.
these different emotions, and they don't know how to get out, like you said, and they don't understand their pattern of thinking, and they don't understand
Yes.
why they things, or maybe they don't want to think about it, like they don't want to go back and solve it because they're ashamed, or there's something wrong, they think there's something
Yeah.
wrong with them, or they don't want to relive it maybe. But
I mean, I think
it's imperative that you figure it out for yourself and you move forward, because you can't ever continue your life until you solve that issue that happened to you.
100%. I mean, I don't know about you. Like, did you end up going to therapy for what you experienced as a kid?
Absolutely, yeah, I did. And I mean,
How
in a
did it
way.
help you?
I'm sorry.
Did it help you going to therapy?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that path of therapy led to me doing just an incredible amount of reading, and an
Mm.
incredible amount learning how to be honest with myself. I think that event kind of made me who I am today. And in a weird way, it's not like I'm proud of it, but in a weird way, like I think it made me, like I said, have to see the world the way it is. And I think it made me a, a more caring and loving and helpful person to integrate all that. Like it takes a lot of work. Like if you go to therapy, you have to do a lot of work on yourself to figure out, what does
Mm.
this mean? And did it hurt me? What about the person that did it to me? Like I feel worse for that person because that it happened to that person, and that person's life was destroyed, and like they beat themselves up worse than I beat myself up. And
Yeah.
for someone to go through a situation, whether it would be abuse at the home or any kind of tragedy in that event, if you get through it, once you walk that perilous pathway to clarity, you're going to come out better, and you're going to be able to help people. And like I've been able to help, like I think one thing we share is that because of that adversity, we've been able to help people. When you can help other people and you can see kind of the light begin to blossom in their mind and be like, oh, yeah, you're right. I never thought about it like that. Or, oh my gosh, maybe that is why I'm so artistic. Or maybe that's why I push myself into this outlet. Like when you can help other people, I think that's the greatest gift you can do. And then when you look at it from that angle, maybe that's why that even happened to you. That even happened to you because somewhere along the line, path, God, or whatever divine creator you believe in, wanted to use you as a conduit to help other people. And
Yeah.
that's the way I think that I've integrated it, and it seems to be working.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I feel like the ultimate um, kind of ranking of spirituality is helping others.
Yeah,
That's like really the ultimate, right? I mean, it's one thing to gather, money and fame and that stuff. It's like, that stuff's sure, it's nice. It's nice. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie about it. But I think the ultimate is, I see a lot of, being in LA, see a lot of celebrities, meet a lot of very established people. And I see how they are. Like, they make money and they're very well in their careers and stuff like that. But I don't see them kind of their kind of spiritual journey kind of going to the next level where they want to help people, right? It's
Yeah,
not in them. Like they don't want to
that's
because they want to just gather, just like it's mine. I don't want to share this. And I think for me, I think I'm just like wired that way. I think I've always been that way as a kid, but also I want to give like a kudos to my parents because my parents were also very generous people. They also generously beat the shit out of us, but they were also generously also very generous and helping other people. I saw my parents like genuinely go out of their way to help people, and I think that
yeah,
really instilled this thing in me where I was just like, oh, helping is good. Like helping is helping. And I think as an adult, for me, it's just become more about feeling good. It's just like
yeah.
it feels good. Like you don't have to give me anything back. It just feels good to help. How can
It
I help?
does.
And I think for me, it's like that's what I do. I don't think in terms of just building a table for yourself. Like it's like how big and how long can your table be? How many
Yeah,
people can you invite to your table?
that's a great analogy.
Yeah. How many people can you invite to your table? You should. I was like, oh, we have another chair. Yeah, come on in. Yeah,
Yeah,
have a seat. Come on in. Yeah, you too. Come on in. You're welcome. Have a seat. Take it to, make yourself at home. And I think for me, it's like that I don't know. That's kind of how I try to live my life as much as I can.
yeah. I have a young daughter, and it seems to me that there is some of the things on TV, and I'm originally from San Diego, so I spent a lot of time in California.
Ah, look at that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so when I moved to Hawaii, it
Where in
was
Hawaii
so
are you, by the way?
in Oahu.
Wow, nice. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's Hawaii is, I think it's the most beautiful place on the planet, and
Mm.
I didn't realize how sick I was until I moved to Hawaii, and like I
Mhm.
started like talking to people here, and I started realizing that my patterns of speech and a lot of my speech patterns prior to moving here were like, dude, I got a Lincoln Navigator, and then I was living by the water, and I met this one girl. Like so much of my thought process was like what I have, and like that's how I like that was how I understood myself was based on my possessions. And when
Mhm.
I moved out here, like it was like dying and being reborn because so many people were like, what are you talking about? You are so dumb. You're so gross. Like, what? Who cares about what you had? And I'm like, what? I'm just saying the same things I said back home that made friends. And for so long, it's a transition. It takes a while to rebuild and regrow and reimagine yourself. And after a while, I would call back to some of my friends and like, I could hear their speech patterns, but mine had changed. And it was like
Mhm.
I got to hear what I used to sound like by talking to some of my older friends. And I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
another thing for me moving out here as like, my as a white guy who grew up in Caucasian Acres in San Diego, when I moved, that's not a real place, but when I moved out here to Hawaii, there's so much more culturally diverse. It's such a rich culture of people from all over the world. And when I began to get exposed to that, and I began to get exposed to people that speak tonal languages versus English and different cultures and different methods, it was like my mind blew up. And I began to realize when I speak to people, if I speak to someone from maybe Korea or from maybe Laos, that they have a tonal language. So if I get real close to them and I'm like, I could say the same thing, however, if I change the tone, it could be offensive or it could be not offensive. And as I've moved further on my journey and I'm still learning, like the way we communicate to people is is barely, we're like barbarians. It seems like we have a very difficult time explaining stuff. And so I've come to this conclusion that language and communication can change the world if people take time to travel and not only talk to other people, but take a few moments to understand the culture in which that other person is coming from. Then and only then can you understand what that person cares about and feels about, and how to talk to them. And
Yeah.
our communication is it saddens me because no one ever sits down and takes time to like define their terms, or
Yes.
I spent so much time thinking of things to say when I should have been listening. You know
Yeah.
what I mean by that?
Yeah, yeah, I understand. I think that's more like that's a very American thing. I think like having grown up here and having more spent more time in the U.S. and it's like when I travel to Europe or when I travel out to Asia or whatever, I I feel like the ugly American sometimes because sometimes I'm just like loud. I'm like ha ha ha, and I'm just like oh my god, I'm so the ugly American right. I remember going to London to do shows and stuff, and I remember being in London at a bar and just talking to my friend and just being just being fucking American. Okay?
Right, right.
Like and I remember like them looking at me. I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. Wow, where is my level of awareness right now? And I think that's why I think people need to travel.
Yeah,
Travel,
I
like
agree.
go out, like step outside your town,
Yeah,
see how
yeah.
other people live, get perspective. And I feel like a lot of people because if you don't, I think traveling is like the single greatest gift you can give to yourself, quite frankly. More than like buying a stupid BMW or I mean, I met people like adults, like in their 40s. They're like never left the country. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean never left the country? They're like, never left the country. I'm like, but you have 3 kids. Before you had 3 kids, you didn't think about maybe traveling the world? What about for your honeymoon? You don't want to go out there? Like, no, just went to San Diego and had my honeymoon there. Really? Really?
Right.
You don't want to just venture out into this big planet we live on?
Yeah.
You don't want to do that? But I guess some people don't see it as priority. And I quite frankly think as human beings, we kind of owe it to ourselves that if you are in a position of traveling and have enough means to travel, like it will single-handedly, add so much value to your life. It will add so much value to you as a person. What it does for you is I don't think I can even put it in words, quite frankly. I mean, for me, like I think that besides all the bullshit that I've been through in my life, I think for me, travel has single-handedly also raised so much of my awareness. Has it has just made me a better person because I no longer look at life or the world just from my own filter. It's just
Yeah.
like wow, these are all these different people. How they're all trying to get to the same thing, right? I feel
Yeah.
like not to get a little dark, but when September 11th happened, I was in New York City, right? So,
Right.
as a Muslim person, I mean, we were experiencing a lot of backlash, right? It was just like these Muslims and this and that. But I feel like as time has passed by and as more Muslims have come, I guess, come up and have been a little bit more in people's periphery, like myself, there are a lot of other Muslim comics, actors, change makers, journalists,
Yeah.
that kind of weird, twisted, like we're just walking around saying Allah Akbar all day. I'm just like, nobody got time like that, man. I don't have time like that. Like walking around like doing jihad. I'm like, you know what my jihad is? Passing by Ben and Jerry's and not walking in. That's my
Right.
freaking jihad. Okay. Jihad means struggle. Okay. And I feel like so many people don't have that because they never traveled. They don't know. They never met a Muslim person. They don't know what it's like. That they were like a bunch of freaking weird aliens that are just like from another planet, just out here fucking killing everybody. It's just like, dude, I don't have time like that. Like, I got jokes to write. Let's go, people. Let's go. I don't have time to do this level of hatred that you're describing to me. Now, are there people that who want to hurt other people, including you and me? They, by the way, have no prejudice. They want to kill me as much as they want to kill you.
Right. Right.
Are those assholes out there? Absolutely. I am
Yeah.
not denying that for 1 second. But please also put this thing in perspective, right? I feel like I was like making this joke recently that I feel like if every religion and every race, the good people or the more sane people got together in every race and every culture and were just like putting a stop to the assholes in their culture, the world would be so much of a better place. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, it's just like all the good people are just gathering and saying, and anytime an asshole is like, I don't like that race, just slap them. Just slap
Yeah.
them right across the face and say, shut your mouth and sit down. Like, you don't know. You don't know. Like, take the time to know somebody. Like, take the time, you know? And I think that level, and I think when you travel, that level of ignorance subsides, just like in your case, right?
Yeah.
You don't even, you just went to Hawaii and you were like,
Yeah.
my world has changed,
Right.
So I'm a big advocate of, I know because of the Rona, we can't really travel right now, but
Right.
when we do, travel, I encourage that a lot. I think there's a lot of value to be had. And I think, and also you won't sound so dumb when you talk.
That's so true. You know what I think about? Like, I get so saddened right now to see how divided like our country is. And when we speak of travel, when I was really lucky when I was in high school that I had a foreign exchange student come from Sweden,
Oh, wow.
and like the guy was amazing. He became I never had an older brother. I have one older sister, but I never had an older brother, and he became like this icon for me. And it was just like this explosion of culture that came into my life, and
Mm-hmm.
it really helped to expand my idea of what people are and what the world is. And when I think about our country,
Yeah.
like, you know, if what if there was some sort of program where, since we're reimagining education right now, what if kids from like New York could go spend time, like part of their schooling would be to spend 6 months in Kentucky with a family, and that they sit down and they talk and they're like, hey, here's why we think this and here's why we think this. I've always found that when I sat down with someone that I was maybe didn't think the same as, I might not have come out thinking the same as them, but I came out with a perspective like, I totally get their point. Like, yeah, that totally makes sense. And
Yeah.
sometimes when we have these walls up where we're like, I'm not even gonna talk to that person. Like, it's when you get to the point where you say, I'm not gonna talk to that person, you get to the point where you can't move forward. And
Yeah.
so like I've been thinking a lot about education and how do we, turn the lies and hate to love and truth. And the only way to do that is to have a conversation. And it just seems to me like sometimes we're at a point where we can't have a conversation. And
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know if you know this, but the US education system is rated one of the lowest education systems
yeah,
in the world. I mean,
yeah,
when I moved at 15, the math that we were doing in 11th grade in high school here, I had done that in 8th grade in Pakistan. Just to
it's
give you
so sad.
just to give you
It's so
perspective.
sad.
I
Yeah.
my I was so good at it that I would just sit in class because I was getting straight A's that I
Hmm.
didn't have to take the final exam because I didn't need to. And my
Right.
teacher specifically told me, "Can you please just sit in the class where the other students won't feel bad that you don't have to take an exam?" And I was like, "Sure, sure,
Right.
I will sit here so other people don't feel bad, right?" But
Yeah.
I feel like our education system needs a massive upgrade.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe that. That's number one. Number two, I think a lot of people confuse education. Somehow people think that if you're educated, your ignorance is not there. No, that has nothing to do with it. You can still be educated and still be ignorant. You
Yeah.
still can. I mean, I see it. I see it in the Pakistani community where we have doctors and engineers and lawyers, successful, super educated.
Hmm.
Some of the dumbest shit comes out of their mouth. You're just like, did you listen to yourself? You sound like an idiot, And people will be like, but they're educated. Yeah, but they're also ignorant. Like,
Right.
education does not always equal not ignorance. You can still be ignorant. I think a lot of the ignorance goes away is I think when traveling comes into place, interacting with other people comes in place. That is the real life education. Like you can go and get a college degree and partied your way all through school and not learn shit. Like you're
Yeah.
just like, I'm in debt and now I gotta like work odd jobs to pay off my student debt. But I didn't learn anything. I really didn't
Yeah.
learn anything, right? Maybe going to college helps you kind of develop social skills. You learn how to interact with people, but that is an expensive social skill education,
Yep.
right? 75%
Absolutely.
of 75% of college and university grads do not use their degrees. It is a scam. I'm sorry. I am a college dropout. I am not a fan of education in that sense that, if you don't know what you're going to college for, don't go. Don't go to a trade school. Go learn
Yeah.
from your skill set. Elon Musk was asked, would you send your kids to college? And he goes, absolutely not. My kids would go to a trade school. Smart.
Yeah.
Right, because he knows a lot of kids go to school to just party, right? Have a good time, put in whatever paperwork, get their degree, and they're like, I don't know what I did for the past 4 years. I really don't, And I'm not an advocate of that. I just don't care. I'd rather you take that money and maybe travel. Right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is incredible.
Absolutely.
That is an incredible education you're gonna get,
Yeah.
right? That you come back enlightened, probably came up with some great freaking ideas of maybe, you want to go maybe live abroad for a little bit and do something incredible. But rather than just, I partied my life away for the past 4 years and now I don't know, now I have a college debt. I have to, all this school debt that I got to pay off. And I have friends like that, they make really good money, but they have all this student debt. They're just like, I'm trying to pay it down, but it's so expensive. But so coming back to the point about, education, I feel our education system is not designed for entrepreneurs, not in the slightest. There is not a single school that I can go to as an entrepreneur that would teach me what I have learned in real life. There's just no way. In college, we don't even teach basic things. How to change your car's tire. Basic things. How to check a balance a checkbook. How to save money, how much part of your paycheck should be. If you were not fortunate enough to have parents who were, who taught you how to take care of money, how to invest money, you're screwed. Screwed. You're going to come out and just going to, spend all your money like I did because I didn't know any better. At a very young age, I was making a lot of money. And like an idiot, I just spent it. I didn't know any better. I didn't have any that kind of finance education. Basic skills on every single day of how you live your life. I mean, teach kids how to make a meal for themselves. Teach them how to grow vegetables, basic stuff, man, that they can actually use, that comes in handy, rather than you teaching me about E equals MC squared that I'm never freaking going to use. Now, I'm not putting E equals MC squared down if you're going to become a chemist or whatever it is that you're going to become. But for me, that's useless, right? For my skill set, that's useless. I feel like there needs to be some kind of test or something that kind of also puts children on their paths. Like, hey, this is your strong suit. You should try to pursue this. Don't try to. Einstein was asked. About a genius, like what the definition of genius, and I'm totally pulling this out, paraphrasing. And they're like, yeah, if you ask a fish to climb a tree, it's gonna think it's stupid for the rest of its life.
That's so funny.
I mean, but it's true, right?
Yeah.
A fish is swim. A fish is not going to climb a tree, So I feel like those kind of critical thinking processes that I'm talking about are not there. Kids in school are not made to have critical thinking capabilities. They're just not. They don't have that. You ask them about their opinions. Kids are being kind of told a narrative and they're just believing a narrative. I'm not saying that's for all, but I believe that there has to be certain level of critical thinking that has to be incorporated pretty early on. I'm talking about as young as middle school. Incorporate that they're gonna go on to become, they're the future of the world. That. That's important.
Yeah, we did. I went to a parent teacher conference a while back, and I'm real lucky. I'm real lucky. My daughter goes to a really awesome school, and in the interview for the school, the
Is it a
teacher
school or
private school.
Oh.
And during the interview we were talking to the teacher, and she had asked our thoughts on education, and I had done some reading on it, and if you look at the American education system, it's based on the Prussian system of training obedient workers, and that's why you have bells and whistles and 30 kids sitting down and a teacher standing up so they look up to them, and they're not trained to think critically. They're trained to be obedient workers, and they're trained to do what they're told. They're trained to be smart enough to fill out paperwork, but not get in the way of understanding the guy on the top is stealing everything. They don't want him in the way of that. They want him smart enough to do all that stuff. And so, there's a there's a better way to do it. And I think that if you look at the technology we're using, I read this incredible book. It's called Technopoly by Neil Postman. And
Yeah.
he starts off the book about talking about how for every new technology we use, it takes something away. And the example that he used was that he went all the way back to like Plato. And in the there's a story in Plato's, I don't think it's Plato's Republic, but there's this story that talks about how the creation of writing, when it talks about how writing was created, and it says, look, I'm going to establish this form of communication called writing, and it's going to help everybody remember stuff. And the
Yeah.
rebuttal to the guy who said writing was good said, listen, you're going to establish this form of communication that gives the appearance of intelligence. People are going to be able to read other people's experience
Yeah.
and be able to talk about it, but they don't have that experience. So while they're going to sound intelligent, they're going to be dumb because they don't have the experience. And you can't teach something if you haven't had experience. And so I think moving forward on education, one thing we can do is teach the history of every subject, you know, whether it's English or whether it's math. Like, I think every subject should have a foundation in history, you know, and that helps with the critical thinking. It helps with the child understanding why you're learning this and why it's important and what happened in the past with this particular subject. And I think that education is going to change forever right now, and that's a good thing. I think
Yeah.
that when I think about the coronavirus, I think that there's some really positive changes happening that are cloaked in this shadow of despair. Like, a lot of people are really worried right now and scared. But one thing I've noticed, Mona, is like the people's eye contact, because everyone's wearing a mask. Like, you have to
Mm.
look at people's eyes, and
Mm.
I've failed to notice for so long how beautiful eye contact is with people. And if you're staring at someone's eyes, it's almost like the communication is more pure. And for
Yeah.
so long, we have been caught up in this community where we're going and moving, and now we're forced. If you want to know what someone's saying under their mask, you really have to pay attention. You got to look at them in the eyes. And I think that's a positive change. And I
Mm.
think that there's some cool things happening here. And I'm not sure how I got
There's
to
a lot of,
here.
I mean, listen, the reckoning that is 2020, somebody said to me, if you look at 2020, what else is 2020?
Yeah.
A vision is 2020 when it's
Yes.
completely clear, when things are just totally clear. That's 2020. And I feel like that's exactly what's happening. I mean, look at all the all the people that have been doing wrong for so long. There's a level of reckoning that's happening on a level that we've never seen before. We're
Yeah.
seeing very, very powerful people being brought down in a way that we never saw, that we never thought that they will come down on. You know, those kind of truths will come forward, and their bullshit was going to be exposed. So I feel like 2020, as bad as it is, I mean, the fact that we have 1,000 Americans dying every day,
Mm-hmm.
80, every 80 seconds an American dies right now. We have over 161,000 dead Americans. Like, that could have been prevented.
Right.
Two of my girlfriends have passed away. One was
I'm sorry.
42, one was 47. Very, very young. My friends, both parents died 2 weeks apart from each other because of COVID. I mean, this is, like, death is very much present, right? It's
Right.
just, our life is very fickle. Like,
Yeah.
is like we could just be gone. Like, this virus is not like, you're Pakistani, oh, I'm gonna spare you, so let
Yeah.
me.
It doesn't care.
It's for everybody, and I
Yeah.
feel like the level of the way the leveling is happening, if this isn't making us recognize our humanity and realizing that we are all pretty much on like that same level, like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
as powerful as we may think we are, and as as strength and how much money we have and all that, at the end of the day, the virus is like, I really don't give a
Not
shit.
one bit. Yeah.
There's no vaccine out, there's no real
Mm-hmm.
treatment out, so you're gonna suffer just like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're a billionaire or whether you're poor, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of suffering. The virus is gonna come and get you. Now, there is a different thing, and I think a lot of celebrities got mocked for it, and rightfully so. Gal Gadot, who played Wonder Woman. I don't know if you saw
Yes.
the movie.
Yes.
She made a video about the song Imagine with like her bunch of celebrity friends, like Imagine all the, and it was like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Like, like shut the fuck up, okay?
Right. Right. Right.
You don't know what
Yeah.
it's like.
Yeah.
You're sitting in your fancy home with your rich husband, and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you have your bills paid. You don't know what it's like for somebody who works for Lyft or delivers food for Postmates, or lost their jobs and have to feed
Yeah.
a family and have to pay rent, or they can't make mortgage. Like, what's gonna happen? It's like, imagine. Stop it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Imagine you shut the fuck up. How about you imagine? How about let's imagine that. So I think a lot of celebrities, like Ellen, got in a lot of trouble. Look, Ellen's in a lot of trouble right now. Ellen DeGeneres, like,
Right.
toxic environment that she has created all these years. That reckoning is happening right now as we speak. I personally know a girlfriend of mine who actually, her article just came out about how Portia and Ellen treated her and tried to get her fired from her job. It's just like that level of reckoning is happening for a reason, because humans have been fucking up. They've been fucking up for a long time, not exclusive to America, across the country, across the world. Like, people have been messing up, and I think 2020 is such a reminder, such a big reminder of how vulnerable we really are, regardless of how wealthy or poor we are.
Right. A great equalizer.
The great equalizer. I mean, it was just leveling the field, man. Just leveling it out, which is good, but also is, of course, very bad, because there are people who are dying that we could have just been prevented. It could have been prevented. Somehow we value doctors when we have to get surgery, and or we end up breaking our leg, or have to be treated for cancer or AIDS or whatever, but somehow when it comes to the virus, people somehow are just like, I don't believe the doctors. Right. I don't believe the scientists. Well, you believed them before.
Right.
Why aren't you believing them now? Right? Oh, they're changing their story every day. They're not changing their story. They're just learning things in real time. They don't know anything about this virus. So what they're doing is they're trying to work as hard as they can. I have two scientist friends. One scientist friend, he's in Germany. He's one of the lead. He's also my ex, but he's one of the lead cancer research scientists. Right? Mm-hmm. He's wonderful, brilliant man. And I had him on, and we talked about how in Germany they've been able to take measures and been able to reduce the virus in a pretty short period of time, and how they've managed to do that. And one of the key things is, people don't know Angela Merkel, one of my absolute heroes who I love and adore, is also a scientist, right? Yeah. Like, talk about being a friggin' overachiever. It's like, oh, Angela, we get it. We get it. You're like a scientist, and you're the leader of the strongest nation in European Union. We get it. You're an overachiever. What are you? What are you, Indian, Pakistani? Because that's what our expect us from us. Right. Be like these massive overachievers, Right. Oh, what's the next move? You're gonna go to the go to the moon by yourself? What's gonna happen next, Angela? We get it. I love her. I love her to pieces. She's great. And he was talking about the Angela Merkel went on national television in Germany and said, "Okay, guys, we have two options. Either we can take extreme measures, shut everything down for a period of time, for a few number of weeks." Bring this virus down, because it's not going to have host to carry, right? It's not going to spread like the way it's spreading. Or we can just be like a little bit strict, just wear masks, do the social distancing. What do you guys prefer? Overwhelming majority of Germany voted for extreme measures.
Yeah.
I asked him, why is that? He goes, the reason being, Italy and Spain is right next door to us. They had so many dead bodies that they had to call in their military to store the bodies on the military bases. They were running out of body bags. That's how many people were dying on a daily basis. So Germany got freaked out, and they were like, we don't want this. We don't want to run out of body bags like Germans dying. Like, are you freaking kidding me? We are going to take extreme measures. And so they did. Come on. there are lunatics in Germany who were taking it out to the streets, and they were like, we're not going to wear a mask and this and that. And the rest of the country was just like, shut the fuck up, go home, wear a mask. We don't need to hear this shit, right?
Right.
So, I mean, yes, education is a big deal, but there's also those people who are educated, right?
Yeah.
Those people are educated who are going out, taking it to the streets and saying, we're not going to wear masks. But the overwhelming majority is like, shut the fuck up, go home. We don't need this. We need to control this virus. And they've been very, very successful at it. They've been very, very successful at it. So I feel like in America, we are seeing this side of Americans that we knew existed, right? We kind of knew it on the side, in the back of our head, but now it's just all coming to a head where, not to get political, but it is relative to this conversation.
Yeah.
Our leader somehow keeps dismissing, research and scientists, the wonderful and amazing Dr. Fauci, who I really like, and somehow keep dismissing what the scientists have to say, because he has a narrative that he wants it served, and he's going to serve that at the cost of American lives. That is not good leadership.
Yeah, it seems like I think one disconnect that people have is that there's so much information out there, and like I can see it in my own family. Like my mom, she'll watch CNN nonstop, and then my dad will watch like Fox News, and it's like, there's these two diametrically opposed messages being put out there. Mm-hmm. And it's not, I don't think people are bad. I think it's just that they've been given information that is something that they want to believe, or something that they trust this person or they trust that person. And
right,
because there is so much information out there, and George, people are working so hard.
George, it's not that we are the only people fighting this.
I know.
New Zealand has been able to curtail it.
Yeah.
Germany's been able to curtail it, right? All these other developed nations have been able to curtail it, except us.
Yeah.
So it's not that, oh my God, we have no path. We have a path.
Yeah.
It's proven. They've done it before. They did it. Why can't we just follow that path? What is this about? Is this about you forwarding your agenda and your narrative because it's so ego-driven that you don't want to look like an idiot, because you earlier on when the pandemic hit said that this was a fucking hoax, and we all know it's not a fucking hoax?
Right.
Is that what this is about? Because you want to serve your ego? Or are we going to get on a path of, bringing the virus down, curtailing it, and getting the country back on track? What is this about?
I think it's about money. I think that like the multinational corporations don't want to lose market share. And if you look at like Wall Street, like they're having Lord knows what kind of corruption is happening up there right now. Just the biggest transfer of wealth from working people to the top 1%. And I think that, when they made the law, they said, okay, anybody that has less than 500 employees, you guys have to stop. But if you have more than 500, you can make whatever rules you want. And it seems to me that, the multinationals have this idea of people being the same as interchangeable parts, and that they're not willing to lose profit regardless of how many people die. And I think that's who runs I think it was John Dewey who said that government is the shadow cast upon the people by business. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the businesses right now, like they're having record years. You look at Bezos, like just almost a trillionaire.
He's a trillionaire.
And look at the people in Amazon. Like, look at people are dying in that building. And you got people like Kevin Hart going on Rogan talking about how much he loves Jeff Bezos. It's like, you dummy, don't say that. I hate that. And like, for me, as a person that delivers packages, like I feel I got really down this week because I found myself in a position where, like, how can I ethically deliver a package to an elder care home when I know that there's COVID in my building? And why are we not telling the community about this? And I couldn't sleep, and my wife's like, take it easy, George, what's wrong with you? So I went in and I started at the bottom and I started talking to the low level guys, and I go, look, do you think this is ethical? And, I started getting answers like, my opinion doesn't matter.
Mm.
That made me furious. And so I took it as far as I could to the #1 guy in Hawaii. And I said, listen, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to ethically go to these places? Like, why don't we do something productive? I mean, something proactive instead of reactive. Like, we're not doing anything. And on top of that, why don't we tell the community? Why don't we get out in front of this thing? And,
Right.
this guy said to me, like, well, it's not just us. Like, he gave me this total non-answer that was so, it just saddened me. Like, dude, you're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to be the guy that everybody looks up to. And when we come to you with a problem, your answer is, well, I'll ask the guys in the boardroom. Like, that's,
Yeah.
and it just,
Yeah.
I think
He has 10 other leaders to respond to.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all have the same narrative, right? So it all
Yeah.
trickles down from the top, right?
Right.
The same with our government right now, the same with any corporation.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right about the fact that we are definitely have become an oligarchy. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think if somebody tries to come and challenge me on that, I'm like, look at who are your decision makers right now. They're all billionaires.
Yeah.
It's oligarchy. It's straight up oligarchy. I mean, that is what's happening. We have a reality TV show guy who claimed himself to be a billionaire, and now he's the president of the United States. What are we looking at here? We are looking at an oligarchy. You think, when one of the officials from the Trump administration comes out and says, we'll give you a $1,200 stimulus check, and that should hold you over for 10 weeks? Do you understand how detached that person is?
Yeah.
You know how detached they are from reality of Americans, of how, if you have, look, I'm a single girl and I have a dog, right? If you are a family of 2 and you lost your job, and you can't find job, and the unemployment is going to run out as well, how much is that $1,200 going to hold you over, right? How long do you think that's going to hold you over? $1,200? It's nothing. It's nothing. The minimum, based on the family, you should be getting at least $3,000 a month just to hold you over. Control the virus, pay the money. Look, if we have money for AK-47s, and if we have money for helicopters, and we have money for highly militarized weapons that can freaking take out like a whole like a slew of rhinoceros in one shot, then we have enough money to feed Americans. We have enough money to take care of our, know. If we have senators and government officials retiring on full salaries, all insurance paid on your dime and my dime, then there is enough fucking money to take care of Americans. Don't fucking come at me with this bullshit that you don't have money. You have plenty of money. Whenever it comes to military and policing and all that shit, you guys have money. We talk about education and healthcare. There's no money. Stop it. Stop it. We're not stupid. We're not stupid.
Right. You see, the $1,200 when they say $1,200 should hold you through, what they're really saying is that we need to buy these people off for more time at the least amount of possible. I think that the stimulus, it's not trying to help people. It's trying to limit the amount of people in the streets, and they want to do just enough, but not too much. Like, they don't want people to be comfortable. They want to pay people to buy more time is what's happening, I think. And you know what? Like, there used to be a lot.
Here's the problem, George. How do you buy more time when the leader of the country is consistently going against the scientists? He's consistently, you wear a mask one day, the other day you say the masks don't work. The social distance, not really. You can, but stop it. The moment Trump came out and said, put a mask on, do you know that his supporters, 56% went on and started putting on masks? He has so much power, but he does not feel responsible for it. We are in deep shit.
Yeah, we are. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the American people. And I don't think anybody.
But his supporters believe that, George, and it's scary. It's fucking scary. Look at what's happened yesterday. United States Postal Service is going on and removing mailboxes. When has that ever happened in the history of the United States, George? Tell me. I can tell you as a person who grew up under a dictatorship in Pakistan, this is how dictators come into existence.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming.
I think that you're going to see regardless of what happens, I think you're going to see a contested election. And that's when
It's going to be a massive fight. We all know that.
Yeah, I
It's just
know.
the point of how corrupt is it going to be? How is it going to get violent? Is it going to get
Absolutely.
violent? Listen,
Yeah.
he already planted the seed for his supporters to come out and say, you know, if I don't, he was
Yeah.
asked by journalists earlier on, hey, if you lose, what are you going to do? And, you know, are you going to leave peacefully? And he goes, well, we'll see. He goes, let me tell you something. If I lost, there will be a civil war. What is he
Yeah.
calling for, George?
Yeah, it's horrendous. It's
You think this person cares about this country? He cares about you and me? He doesn't give a fuck.
no, I don't think any politicians do. I think that you know what I was thinking yesterday? Like, why is it that
I
when
don't know, George. I don't know
you
about any politician. There is a man named Bernie Sanders. Yes, his ideas could be a little too
yeah,
radical for some people, but
I like Bernie.
everything that he's been talking about is not that far fetched. It's not.
How come he backed down? Like he could have won like against Hillary. Like if he would have stood up, I think the people would have backed him.
Don't even get me started on the Democratic Party, George. Don't even get me started. I am not. I am not an independent. I'm an
Yeah.
independent. That's how I register. I will vote. I will make my own decision. I don't need you to
Yeah.
tell me what affiliation I need to have.
Yeah. I like Tulsi. I wish she would have stayed. I really liked her.
She's a
I
little bit of a Manchurian candidate for me.
Is
She's
she?
yeah. She's got I think for me, I never really know what Tulsi Gabbard believes in. She is
Mm.
very much about what do you like? She's that person. It's like, hey,
Mm.
I'm hungry. You know, let's go eat something. Or really, what do you want to? Oh, forget about me. What do you want to eat? You know, it's
Right.
about like what's gonna get her to the next level, rather than saying, "This is what I believe in. This is who I am."
Mm.
You know, I haven't been a fan of Tulsi, quite frankly. I want to, but I just can't get behind that. You know,
There was this law there used to be a tax that said there can be no profits in a time of war.
yeah.
There could be, and that would, like you said, like there's plenty of money. Like we give so much money in foreign aid, and we give so much money to all these companies that go and suck the resources out of third world countries. Like people don't have clean water in Michigan. Like, why can't we as Americans have the money that's our tax money? It drives me nuts. It kills me.
Listen, we have money to go and philander around and to give for bullshit things, but we don't
Yeah.
have. Flint, Michigan, still has dirty water.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico can't get their supplies. They can't. They're being tossed. Paper towels by the president.
Right.
Like, you get a paper towel and you get it. Stop it. Stop it. It's just overwhelming
It is.
what is happening right now. But you know what? Maybe we needed that as Americans. We really
I
needed.
think so.
I think we got a little too comfortable. We got a little too comfortable listening to people who don't have the best intentions at heart for us. That's what
Yeah.
happened. And
You got a little lazy.
yeah, we got lazy, and now we are definitely paying for it. Not just with our money, we're paying for it with our lives. And
Yep.
this election, we are literally fighting for our lives. This election, we are fighting for our lives, George. I don't know how many people. I mean, I made that post yesterday on my Facebook page, and I was like, why are people not outraged? And thank God today in DC, right outside of DeJoy's house, who's the guy who ordered for the removal of the postal mailboxes and stuff, there is a massive protest right outside his house. I'm like, yes, yes, you go and tell him exactly how you feel.
Yeah.
But as Americans, you have to take my vote out of my dead claw hands.
I love it.
Claim yourself to be the fucking illegitimate winner. Like, that's not going to happen. And I think that's the one thing that Americans are like historically have been. So look, we've had elections through World War II. Are you kidding me? One president comes out and says we should delay the elections. No, go fuck yourself. We're not going to delay the elections. Okay,
right.
We can go through World War II and have elections. We can very much go through a fucking virus pandemic, which was your job to come fix, by the way. You're totally fucked up on. And now you're telling me that I have to delay. And also, you keep telling people that the schools need to be reopened, and DeVos keeps going out and saying that the schools need to be reopened and kids need to go back to school. So let me understand this. The schools need to be reopened. I should go out and jeopardize the lives of my children, including myself and my family. But the virus is too dangerous to go to the voting booth and to put in my vote. Is that correct? Is that? Do you think we're fucking stupid? Do you think we're not processing this?
Right.
What do you think is happening over here? But just so you know, I have to head out in like 2 minutes.
Okay. All right.
I have a class that I need to go to. Listen, I talk about this all day, every day. I do 2-hour live streams every single day. I'm scared for all of us. I really am. I can tell you, as somebody who came out of a dictatorship and made a life here, my knees are giving out. My lower back is hurting. I don't have the energy to pick myself up and move to another country at this age. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. This is not happening, George. I'm going to fight this and do everything in my power I can, to get the right leaders in office to just get our country back on track.
Yeah, I love it, Mona. You're so passionate. You're an amazing woman, and I'm so thankful that I got to talk to you. Like I really enjoyed it, and I love your story, and I love your passion, and I'm so thankful that I got some time to meet you and talk to you. I just want to say thank you very much for that.
Oh my God, no, thank you. This was really lovely. I should bring you. You need to come on my live stream too.
I would love to.
Yeah, I would love to talk about what life is like in Hawaii. I mean, it's beautiful back there. What's the temperature? What's the weather like today?
Can you see behind me? Like the sun's just kind of coming up. It's about 7:30. It's going to be about 84 degrees with about 84% humidity, and it's so green and
beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I feel really lucky. It's a beautiful place.
I love it. No, it looks beautiful. But George, this was a lot of fun. I have to run off.
I hear you.
And I have a crazy busy day today. But thank you so much for having me on. This was so much fun.
I think I'm the lucky one. So thank you. I hope you have a great day. And I look forward to talking to you more, Mona. If you ever need anything, if I can ever do anything to you, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm probably going to email you from time to time. So be ready.
Please do. I would love that. I would love that. But if your followers want to follow me, they can definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is at my name, Mona, Mona, Shaikh, Shaikh, comedian, just Mona Shaikh comedian. They can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like I mentioned, Monday through Friday, I have my YouTube live streams. I bring on, I have Congresswoman from California coming on as my guest. Yes, I'm very excited about that. So just working on bringing on a lot of bigger guests. So I'm very excited about that. And you guys can also follow me on Twitter at Mona's Comedy and Instagram, and Mona Shaikh Comedian also on Facebook. And that's it for plugs for me. And you can also go on my website. I have a comedy album out. If you want to check it out, it's just my name, monashaikh.com. You can check my comedy album out, and that's about it.
And all the links will be on my page too. So I hope you have a great day, Mona, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Yep. Aloha.